Hi, my name is Anna Lewis and I'm one of the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District's agricultural support workers. And super excited to introduce you all to our first ever, hopefully the only one we have to have, but our virtual Family Farm Day. So the Family Farm Day event has been going on for the past 8 or 9 years, and typically you get to actually go and visit the farms. Unfortunately, we can't do that this year, but with modern technology, we thought we'll try and bring the farms to you within the comfort of your home. So I'd like to introduce you to our first farm, Half Acre Garden. And they are a wonderful inspiration in terms of creating a land share agreement and having some mentorship opportunities exist. And it gives the opportunity for Anna and her partner to have land available for them to use in return for growing vegetables for the people that own the land.
It was supposed to be half an acre of Bob and Ann's land, and that's where I came up with the name Half Acre. Although technically now it's a little bit of a lie, because we as two people thought, like what we read was that maybe 2 people would be able to handle this by hand. And then as we worked our way, there was just like a stopping point, and we're like, we want to be on top of things, think this is it. So technically, well, I'll just say it's a little less than half an acre. Our approach to farming is what I know from growing up. We grew up on a small vegetable garden, and of course you go do that by hand. My dad tilled the land once a year, but other than that it was by hand. And I really got into farming because I care about what I eat and where it comes from, and I wouldn't want to eat anything with harsh chemicals, so I wanted to gain experience doing it without chemicals. And at this scale, I wanted to see if it was possible and learn how to succeed in that. So we use hand tools, and we kind of learn through observation the weeds, the different kinds of tools that we can use to work with the land. And so far it's been really great, and it's going really well. In terms of what we're growing, we have this lovely greenhouse here, and we're growing tomato, cucumber, peppers, and then out here tons of other vegetables and flowers, because you need to grow kind of everything in order to, we obviously like to feed the, we have honeybees over there, so bumblebees, honeybees, they like the flowers, so I'm growing wildflowers as well. But there's potatoes, onions, lots of different herbs, lots of lettuces, carrots. The first initiative was to feed ourselves and Ann and Bob. And there was no money exchange, it was just sort of sharing the land and what we did. I also helped them with their horse stalls. And so it was kind of this exchange of labor for a place to stay. And then any excess, we were going to maybe set up a farm stand or sell at the market. So we have been doing that, and it's been really great. I wanted to see where it could go and get more of a grasp on, hands-on grasp of what could be possible down the road. I just want to tell youth out there and young people that it is possible to do kind of land share opportunities to get you going and know what you're in for before you think you need to lay down all this money. I'm working a lot, but it's outside and it's hands-on, and that's the best way for me to learn.
What an inspiration that was. So it makes sense that the next people we introduce you to are the owners of the land that Half Acre Garden sits on. So Bob and Ann Collins run Arrowvale Farm and Campground. It's a wonderful example of agritourism, where people that are going out and camping can actually start to learn and see some of the day-to-day activities that occur on a farm.
This is Agritourism. We run the farm and the campground. And it works well because they are complementary. It evolved from an old gravel pit here that we needed to camp farm a gravel pit. So beautiful view, spectacular farm. So we turned it into an agritourism venture. And it took a couple of years to do the rezoning, and then we rezoned from heavy industrial to tourist commercial, and it's been a success. We had maybe one bad year where it stayed the same, but every year it got better and better and better. But you have to remember it was a moonscape when we started, so it just takes time to get all the plants growing, and now we have the second generation is stepping up to the plate. It's a lot of work. The tourism, I come up here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then if I have staff, I can go back to the house about 7. Lately it's been like 10. What we really major in are events. This year has been an exception because we had to cancel our events, but we do the maple syrup event in the spring, then on to the Easter bunny hunt where the little kids come out and find Easter eggs, and they love it and see the little animals, and usually we have baby chicks or something here. And then it goes on to summer, which is busy, busy, busy. Then in the fall we do the pumpkin hay rides. We have, at this time, we have about 30 beef cows, between 20 and 30, depends on if we have any calves out there. We raise cattle and we sell beef also, and we sell pumpkins. And so I think the campground probably makes more money than the farm, but they balance out, and we are still a working farm. Basically, farming is isolating. And when we were dairy farming, I really liked the socialization of doing the campground. So I remember milking the cows. We milked cows for 15 years. I remember going down, milking cows, talking to the cows, and then coming up and saying, oh, I have campers. You know, it's fun. And it's camping is, and dealing with the public, it's actually very enjoyable because everybody's usually in a good mood when they're camping.
Springtime, you can go to the petting farm out at Arrowvale, and they typically have beautiful baby little goats. They're so much fun. They're my favorite thing. But we're going to move from goats and petting farms to some animals that lay eggs. So next on our virtual tour is Nancy Russo at Lettuce Bee Farms.
I started with the basic lettuce, radishes, and I probably don't even grow that anymore. I have quails, chickens, ducks, turkeys, and doves. It started off as an income, but it's not much of an income, so I would say more of a hobby at this point. But I did start with chickens, and then the ducks came later. That was basically for slug control because we must have the biggest slugs on earth. So yeah, I always wanted ducks for that reason. The quail, a friend of mine wanted to give them to me, so of course I couldn't say no. The doves, I saw another lady doing it and I loved what she was doing, so I had to have my own. And the turkeys, well, they're just so dignified, I had to have one. They all have a name. Well, not all, sometimes there is twin 1 and twin 2. They look exactly alike and I can't tell them apart. Or Annabelle, Anna and Belle, so I call them Annabelle, and Abby Gabby. Yes. Come on. That's Priscilla. with her babies. They have to earn their own keep, I say. So I do sell their eggs, but that buys their feed. I'm part of a group, a cooperative. There's 5 of us farmers. At the Spirit Square Farmers Market, we're all ladies, and we have the same philosophy on gardening, which is great. I'm usually up at 6:30, and I go to bed I go in the house after I lock them up. So right now it's like 9:30ish. I head in the house, watch TV for an hour, and go to bed just to be up again in the morning. You're working for yourself, so you're going to work hard, but at the end of the day, it's for yourself.
Aren't quail eggs just like the cutest, most beautiful little eggs ever? So now we're going to head over to Old Orchard Farms, where they specialize in growing a variety of garlics.
Myself and my gardening partner, Kirsty, have been working with the garlic for 6 years, but this particular garden has been in operation for 40 years, with about maybe 10 or so years where it was just lying fallow. So it's been in her family for 3 generations now. We both really love garlic. And it sounded like something fun to try. Garlic isn't actually a really hard thing to grow. If you've got some good soil and you've got a bit of mulch, it doesn't need a lot of watering, but if there is any dry periods during the spring, you do need to water it. But other than that, it's actually not hard, and it gives you a very good result. Garlic gets planted in the fall, September or October, and harvested just around now, which is middle of July. And so it sets roots before the first frosts or the heavy frosts, and then it kind of goes dormant through the winter, but then it really starts to grow starting even as early as January. It starts coming up through the ground. We are growing 7 varieties of garlic here. One of them is elephant garlic, which is actually in the leek family, but is considered a garlic. And they all mature, come ripe for harvest at a slightly different time. So right now we've harvested 3 of the varieties, and we have another 4 to go. We're getting good at knowing, what we can sell and what we can't sell and when we can sell it. This is a soft neck, which is a braidable garlic. You can see the stem's really floppy and very similar looking to the red Russian, but has a lot more cloves in it that are slightly smaller. And then this is the elephant garlic, which is the monster garlic. And then this is called Portuguese turban, which is a beautiful garlic. Has a beautiful striped skin on it, and it's a soft neck that has scapes, which is really nice, and it's also an early harvesting garlic. Most of it gets sold through the farmers market, but we try to sell the larger stuff specifically as seed garlic because it's important to rotate your garlic. If you're a home gardener and you only have one place to plant garlic, you don't want to replant it in the same place every year unless it's fresh seed because it carries disease. And once you ruin your soil with the disease that affects garlic, you can't ever plant any sort of allium there again. So we have a very good rotation project going on, and so we feel like it's really good quality seed for people to plant. Farming doesn't pay much, but it pays in excellent food to eat all the time, and it's just very rewarding. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
Don't you love the elephant garlic? Like, they're humongous, ginormous, incredible, and amazing flavor as well. So next we're gonna head out Beaver Creek to No Rhyme or Reason Farm.
farm name is No Rhyme or Reason Farm, and we currently have chicken eggs, duck eggs, patty pans, tomatoes, cucumbers, and lettuce, which is what our primary focus is on. It's called Salanova lettuce, and it's primarily we're growing the green sweet crispy, and then we also have a butter variety, only red at the moment. So it's really specialized. What's nice about it is you cut it, so you don't take the whole head out. So you get several different crops from the same head of lettuce, and it stays in your fridge good crisp for like 2 weeks. So the longevity of product, our customers just love it. And for us, it's also good because it doesn't take up too much space and you're not having to constantly move your crop around because you're harvesting it 2, 3, 4 times from the same spot. We are down at the Spirit Square Farmers Market. We are members down there every Saturday. Last year was our first year down there, and we currently supply Dog Mountain Brewery and Brie and Barrel with lettuce and other things. Moving here was a big paradigm shift from spending your time making money so you could buy things to spending your time making or growing your own food, and also thinking about life certainly differently. The decision to move here we have not regretted at all. It can be challenging, of course, living with less, money-wise I mean. Certainly we're living with more quality of life, the community, etc., and the quality of our food. A lot of people have talked to us about this being kind of living their dream and they're stuck in the grind, etc. And really making that change comes down to anybody and what they're willing to sacrifice to get that. And you can start small or you can make a big change, but like I said, it comes down to what you're willing to sacrifice. We don't go out to eat food, we make it at home. Don't buy new things generally unless we super need them. And you know, that can be obtained by anybody, I think. And you can start small, grow things on your deck, you know, borrow part of your friend's yard, whatever. So, you know, if you want to attain what is our dream, you can do it.
Thanks, Sarah. So now we're going to move into some of our farms that have been around for a while. So we're going to go out to Cottonwood Farms, where you'll meet Jan Carter, who has been an amazing mentor for our 4-H community here in the valley.
My name is Jan Carter. This is Cottonwood Farm, and I produce sheep and rabbits. Also have ducks and chickens. I started farming because I had moved to this piece of property, but in the past I had always bought a lamb from somebody in town because lamb was one of my favorite meat to eat. And so once I bought this property, I thought, I have a little space here, I should build a barn and get some sheep, and that's what I did. I had never touched a sheep until I went and picked up my first 3 sheep. I had some support from a couple farmers in town that did have sheep, and I asked lots of questions. I joined the Inter-Island Sheep Breeders. I joined the BC Purebred Sheep Breeders. I got involved in that, and I asked lots of questions, and it was trial and error. I raise Suffolk sheep. They're purebred, registered Suffolk sheep, so I know where all the genetics are coming from. I buy rams for certain genetics to increase the size, the length, the quality of the meat, and those are the only ones that I currently raise, and they're strictly meat sheep. On the farm right now, I believe I have close to 30 sheep. It's a sustainable size herd for me to be farming on my own, that I can be hands-on with them and monitor them. It's, you know, I have the sheep and I also have the rabbits. was chatting with somebody who had rabbits, and I enjoy eating rabbit meat, and they happened to say, well, I've got to sell my rabbits. Do you want them? And you can have all the cages. So I thought, why not? And again, learn to do by doing. I have two different breeds. I have what is called the giant continentals, which are very large, 20 and 30 pounds, full grown. Those tend to be used more by people for pets, and there's a market for them. There are very few producers in BC, so I'm getting inquiries as far away as Alberta for some of these rabbits. The ones I use mostly for meat rabbits are called a Grey Flemish, which produces a 5 to 6 pound carcass. People who have tasted it come back to me and say, I never thought it would be this good. Rabbit meat is considered a white meat, very low in cholesterol, and very small bones, so it actually produces more meat than a chicken of this equivalent weight would produce. All my sales are local, and I sell my lambs whole to my customers, and I have a waiting list every year for people to get a whole lamb from me. I also take my older ewes and I will make them into sausage once they're past that lamb stage, and I also sell that type of meat too. So I don't go to the markets because I just don't have enough lamb for people. I just raise what I raise, and as I said, I've got a waiting list for what I can produce. Farming is a 24-hour job, 7 days a week. For me to even, I plan when I can actually leave the farm and take a drive to Nanaimo. It's, those are the things that that's farming though. But I wouldn't do it any other way.
Thanks, Jan. Now we're gonna head over to a processor. So Wayne Smith from Vancouver Island Grain and Milling is super passionate and dedicated about bringing grain growing back to Vancouver Island.
We've been farming here for quite a few years, and we've tried a lot of different things, but right now we're kind of still doing hay. We do chickens, we do beef cattle, we do grain, some grain. We do a fair amount of grain trials here, trying new varieties and trying to get an idea of what can work here on Vancouver Island for grain. On this farm, Pleasant Valley Farm, is also the site of Vancouver Island Grain and Milling, where we do milling and of grain and flour, and we do grain cleaning here and all the things related to grain. That's my primary interest, I think, is probably in the grain. My family background is from Saskatchewan, and of course, as a kid I had to go there and help with the harvest in late August before school would start, and it sort of gets in your blood. But here on Vancouver Island, our properties are quite a bit smaller, but the yields are generally quite a bit higher. I've tried just about everything, trying to find something that could do well here. But the grains that I have in the last dozen or so years that I've been kind of on this project, I have kind of realized that I really like the grains with hulls on them. It gives a little more protection. We got a lot more of a cushion against bad weather because of that additional hull. And that would include oats, barley, and I've tried some fall spelt. I really like that. I like the fall plantings because it takes away the pressure if I happen to get on the land in the spring when it might be too wet and the fields are wet. People want food security, and they want to know that they can actually grow enough grain, and they're interested in it. It's that is one of the original foods. That's one of the ones that civilization uses to sustain itself. It's something that can be stored. So people have a lot of interest in it. So they're putting more energy into local now than I've ever seen before. So my market is Vancouver Island. That's the name of my company, Vancouver Island Grain and Milling. And I started that name of that company for the primary purpose of getting people to ask questions, because as soon as I say that, they say Vancouver Island grain, so I get to talk about it, and that's it becomes a subject. Consumers that seem to be willing to pay a little more for really good, wholesome, locally produced food. So it probably won't pay like some of the high-tech jobs that we see on the news, but this is a really good living because it's self-sustaining. What we have here on our farm, every time my wife Carrie makes a meal, everything is local. We just talk about, you know, what's not on this table that comes from somewhere else. I'm also part of the Farmers Institute here, and I work on the Agriculture Advisory Committee. And one of the issues that we see in farming, in what we do here, and one of my goals, along with the grain, is to see younger people get into this business of farming as a career. You know, we need to hand this down. We need to get, you know, everything is here, the infrastructure is here. We want to see our life work be transferred into some kind of a sustainable thing in the new generation.
Thanks, Wayne. I personally love his multi-grain cereal. It's amazing. So the final stop on our virtual tour is going to be Coleman Meadow Farms. And they have the most majestic, unique animal, which is the water buffalo. And if you haven't tried their gelato, I highly encourage you to try it out.
We produce a lot of fun on Coleman Meadows Farm. We've got water buffalo, and we've actually got Jersey cows now as well. And that's the next generation. But first, the water buffalo. The water buffalo are the ones that provide us with an amazing milk so that we can sell the products from the water buffalo. So there's cheeses and gelato and yogurt and a series of meats as well. People come to the farm every Saturday from 10 till 2 to visit our water buffalo and visit our gardens. We're not doing tours of the barns this year because of this pandemic, but we are able to view the water buffalo and get a little bit closer. The next generation has started a Jersey dairy, and they'll be milking 36 cows. And it's an exciting time, but it's also a time of real transition as we sort of shuffle the buffalo to one area and the cows to another. We had about 60 water buffalo. We're now down to about 25, and we'll be having obviously the cows. So we've been able to renovate our barns so that we accommodate both critters. We'll look at picking up milking our water buffalo again next spring as they start to freshen, and that's going to be a real transition. And how we do it, we're still sort of trying to figure all those things out. But you know, we feel that diversity for agriculture is key in terms of doing more than just one thing. I've always used the analogy, if I had a shoe store and I just sold black shoes, I would not be surviving. And agriculture cannot and never will be able to survive just doing the same thing over and over again. I believe that this pandemic has really showed that the smaller farms are the farms that are thriving, and people are clamoring for local product. I think the most important thing about opening our farm to the public is allowing the public to really glimpse what agriculture is in a small scale, but nevertheless, we're a very vibrant and active farm. I wouldn't have any other life.
Well, thanks for joining us on our first ever virtual tour, and I would just like to encourage everyone to try and grow your own food. And if you don't have that ability to grow food, support the ones that do. We have an abundance of amazing land in the Alberni Valley, and we've got wonderful people that are farming it.